Alright, the Eagles are headed to the Big Easy, but it ain't gonna be easy, with the Saints boasting the league's best offense in categories the Birds struggle. However, what changes might we see, and why is Vic Fangio confident in the guys he has will succeed? Granted, CJ Gardner Johnson appears to be out, so what's the answer there? And something strange is going on with Devin White. Meanwhile, Jalen Hurts continues to beat the blitz, but one analyst says he's struggling. So let's take a look at what he's talking about. And what's it gonna take for Philly to get a win in NOLA for the first time since 2007? But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? Just a reminder to hit the subscribe button because that Isaiah Rodgers helmet back there, the signed one, is going to go to one subscriber tonight during the live stream. Now, while that's the good news, the bad news is that the Eagles' defensive line is bad, as we've seen the Birds get carved up in the running game and present an incredibly lackluster performance to generate pressure. So now with the red-hot Saints and Alvin Kamara's NFL best 5.7 yards per carry coming up, you can understand why some are thinking it's only going to get worse.
Worse? How could they get any worse? Take a look around you, Ellen. We're at the threshold of hell!
I've gotten several comments about what the silver lining is, and that's it, really. It can't get much worse. I mean, we're looking at a D-line that's been historically bad. In fact, Philly's only the 7th team in NFL history to allow 6.4 yards per carry and at least 315 rushing yards through 2 weeks. And remember how terrible that defense was last year, especially late in the season when all it felt like where there was no stops coming from the defense? Yeah, well, that still only amounted to 15% of running plays going for 8 or more yards. Whereas this year, the Birds are allowing just shy of 30% of runs to go for 8 or more, as everything is obviously all out of whack.
We got no food, we got no jobs, our pets' heads are falling off!
At least the Cowboys' defense isn't much better, as they've given up a league-leading 5 touchdowns on the ground. You're right though, 4 of those came at the hands of the New Orleans squad last week, so the Eagles have their hands full. Like, I think it's fair to say a lot of us had questions about this defense, especially given their personnel, but I mean, let's be honest, did any of us really have the defensive line as one of those top main issues? But given that now is leaving the immediate overreaction to be like Jimmy Kempski stated. This feels like one of those seasons where the Eagles and Cowboys keep losing and each team's fans go, well, at least we're still tied for first place in the division.
How do things ever get so far? I don't know.
I'll tell you how, we lost some talent, and clearly not having Haason Reddick is being felt in several ways. By the way, no, I don't think it's a legit option of him coming back because that'd mean you have to pay him at least $25 million a year even if Howie got a trade done with the Jets. However, losing Fletcher Cox's production has hurt too. Like, I honestly didn't think that I'd be saying this, no offense to Jason Kelce, and he's a GOAT, we know that, you can't really fully replace him, all that stuff. But seeing the offensive leaders and guys stepping up into leadership roles there isn't as much of a concern on that side of the ball. Yet when you look at the defense, it's fair to argue Fletch is a much bigger loss than Kelce. Because even though there's still some more intensity and fire on that side of the ball, I'm not sure it has that vocal leader we want or need yet, especially after hearing Jalen Carter getting benched for the opening series against the Falcons after showing up late for a team-required event last week. Now, I can also understand the viewpoint of why on earth are we benching our best player? Plus, this is the NFL, not college. So I don't know, maybe fine JC instead of taking him out? Also, I get the take suggesting this is the type of stuff that made Miami players hate Fangio's guts, but the Breadman did previously say he appreciates the old-school coaching. Of course, sure, you could argue the production is nowhere close to where it needs to be, and even whenever JC got back in the game, it didn't really make a difference. I mean, heck, through 2 games, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis have 1 solo tackle combined. Now, even with that being said, though, Vic Fangio is confident in the group up front being enough.
Yes.
What makes you convinced that you do?
Because I've seen these guys play, and I believe we do.
He's honestly not wrong. I mean, let's not forget that we heard all throughout training camp about how Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and Milton Williams were blowing up plays in practice. Which, yeah, if the Eagles had a bad offensive line, then I'd understand a little bit of concern or saying, oh, this is fool's gold, it doesn't make sense. Except this is Jeff Stoutland's unit, so you know the defense got plenty of prep against a formidable offensive line. However, as much as we'd all like to see the D-line generate some pressure, it starts by fixing another area first.
If you don't stop the run, you're not going to get in the obvious pass. And, you know, the team we're playing this week, they either run it or max protect, play action, run boots. You know, they're doing a great job offensively, which makes it hard.
Maybe that's why Devin White's not seeing any action. After all, strong run defense hasn't ever really been in the former first-round pick's calling card. Yet the DC did say White's ready to roll, so maybe he'll actually suit up for this game. Or perhaps he's not seeing the field since Albert Breer's report that the Eagles tried to trade the former All-Pro before roster cutdowns was legit. As now ESPN lists White as one of the most realistic and possible trades you could see coming from Howie Roseman, especially considering the fact that Buffalo might be in the market after losing Matt Milano to a bicep injury. Either way, seeing just how bad the run has cost Philly, especially outside zone running plays, and the fact that the Saints utilize that scheme really well doesn't make me feel super confident about him being out there. FYI, the Eagles allow 7.4 yards per carry on zone concept runs. So the D-line and linebackers are going to really need to clean things up if there's any chance. Give them credit though, because the squad is confident in a quick turnaround.
Yeah, I mean, it's things that we supposed to been doing anyway, that we have done and that we can do. So it's like, just get to doing it. That's basically it. So just everybody going out there and practice today. We working on our technique, working on our hands. We getting our 500 shots post practice and everything like that.
We talked about what we got beat on and just cleaning up our techniques and earning the right to go rush. You know, a lot of people saying not a lot of pressure. We're not getting to the quarterback. Well, that's because they're running the ball, max protection, boot action, a lot of that stuff. We got to stop the run first so that we can get out of the boots and get them in a drop back situation so we can go rush.
By the way, kind of a given, but stopping Kamara leans heavily on Nakobe and Zack Baun, who saw a lot of cut blocks while struggling in the first 2 weeks there, with Fangio admitting that Baun hadn't really seen that before. Thus the reason the Eagles had a specific portion of practice to get in reps on the fundamentals there. I hear you, that does feel like that's something that should have already been repped at this point. Anyway, the other topic of debate has naturally been Bryce Huff, with the 26-year-old just getting embarrassed on the field so far. Like when you're not able to beat a backup tight end or put any kind of pressure on the O-line at all, that's unacceptable. Which is how Fletch described the D-line's play while also encouraging some of them dudes to get angry.
You can act like a man! What's the matter with you?
I'm just learning the ins and outs of the position and making sure that I'm on my P's and Q's and stuff like that. Just being more consistent and setting the edge and switching up my rushes as much as I can and making the game a little bit harder for the tackles instead of giving them the same look every time.
Is the role that you're being used for here the role you envisioned when you signed?
I mean, I didn't really have an expectation when I came here. I just was planning to do whatever they needed me to do.
He's still learning how to play, the total game and not just rush situations, but he's working hard at it, and we're going to stick with him.
Look, I know this might be crazy, but being the eternal optimist that I am, I'm going to give Fangio at least a couple more weeks to get this thing right. Although yes, to hear Fangio admit the guys are still getting reps in to get where they need to be isn't the most comforting sign. Plus, Fangio's comment of, I've just got to be better, yes, it absolutely brings up PTSD as far as what Sean Desai was saying and Matt Patricia last year. So, to see the most recent practice report and CJ Gardner Johnson's name popping up with a foot injury only made things worse, bringing into question who the starting safety will be and meaning there's a chance Avonte Maddox moves back into that spot. And even though the defense isn't better without CJ, it might not be as bad as it initially looks, at least whenever we consider the matchup. Because considering the fact that Rashid Shaheed has that blazing fast speed, now might be the time to get Isaiah Rodgers in the game to match up. After all, since 2022, Shaheed is tied with the most yards per reception in the NFL. And as he's proved in consecutive weeks, if you don't take his acceleration seriously, you're going to get burned. So just saying, but why not move your fastest player to cover the Saints' burner? Again, long-term, Q should be on the outside, but given some injuries and Q's versatility, I feel like that alignment could make some sense for this week. That way, Q plays in the slot, I don't know, or just really anything to get Zay on the field, because his speed was also a problem for the Eagles' offense to account for during camp. Anyway, how are you guys feeling about the Saints' offense and just the matchup in general? Also, I feel like this one comes down to turnovers. Yes, I know that's a constant theme, but certainly with this type of team. Which, of course, starts with Jalen, as QB1 will enter the Week 3 contest as the NFL's league leader in turnovers. However, while that's clearly not good, there's one area that Hurts has been much improved in, the blitz.
At the second and third level, they're disguising a pressure here, Atlanta. And so you're sending the nickel corner, you're dropping some linebackers out, there's safety rotation. This is a little bit more of a complicated pressure than some of these other ones that we're looking at. Jalen Hurts throws right into the void, knows exactly where to go with the football. He hits Dallas Goedert here. Goedert's able to drop step and get downhill for a nice little pickup against the blitz. And really what stood out to me as well is that it's not just about Jalen Hurts and his understanding of where the blitz needs to be, but it's also pre-snap. The Eagles have their protection rules in order. The offensive line, the running backs, the tight ends, it's very rare that we have seen free runners come through where guys had mental errors on these blitzes. And here's a good example. This is that Goedert completion from the end zone angle. And again, you've got this pressure look. 6 guys up on the line of scrimmage. So those 6 are going to be accounted for by the 5 offensive linemen and the running back. And once the protection is set, that is the protection. Now, what the Eagles are doing here is that you're essentially getting a 4-man slide. You're going to get everyone from Landon Dickerson to his right. Everybody is flowing to the right. So Lane Johnson has that rusher off the edge. Mekhi Becton has the defensive tackle. Cam Jurgens has the nose tackle right over top of him. Landon Dickerson has the linebacker there, Troy Anderson. Saquon Barkley has the other linebacker there in the hole. Jordan Mailata has the pass rusher off the left side. Now, again, both of these linebackers are dropping out. Look at Saquon Barkley's eyes. He gets right to where's that most dangerous man? Where's this other extra rusher coming from? He's able to step up and pick up the slot corner D. Alford. If the ball does not come out fast, Saquon's there to help his guy out and keep a hit off the quarterback. So really nice job from an assignment standpoint of not just Jalen Hurts, but the protection scheme as well.
For the record, Jalen ranks 4th against the blitz this year. as he's looked more poised and had hot routes to throw to and seems to understand the pressure better. Yet maybe when there's no pressure, Jalen's still belling too quickly.
Jalen could have worked either side and made a first read throw. So I don't know how he specifically coached as far as which side to look at, but he had a first read throw to either side, okay? So let's start to the boundary side of the field. You see Barkley offset, and you see Dallas Goedert. This is what we call a 1-by-3 set. Goddard is the single receiver to the short side of the field. He's got a reduced split. So I just want the audience to focus on that side of the field, okay? Now, when you do run it, and don't run it yet, but what the audience is going to see is Barkley is going to go in short motion, basically behind Goddard. The whole point of this was he's going to run a quick route into the flat, right at the sticks, with Goddard as his natural pick. So that to the right side, that's the first read throw to that side. It's available, and that's the side he looks. This ball should have been thrown. You can run it now. Let the audience focus on Goddard and Barkley. Okay, you see that? Barkley's in motion. Boom, throw him the ball. He's wide open. It's a first read throw. They did not put Barkley in motion for his health. They put Barkley in motion to create the natural pick, and he runs the quick speed out, whatever their term is for that route, but he's wide open. So if you're working to the right, that's where the throw should go, okay? Now, if you take it back, and by the way, just so people can see, go forward a little bit more. Stop. There's no pressure on Jalen Hurts. No pressure at all. So this throw, if he worked to the right, which it appears that's where he's looking, that's easily available. Okay, now let's go back to
now.
the
It's got to be out now. Yeah.
Okay. So now let's go to the other side. The other side of the formation, they also have a first read throw. What they have is they have Covey in the slot and Dotson outside of him, okay? Covey is going to basically run and set a pick on the corner, and Dotson is going to run a delayed slant, a first read throw that's wide open for a first down. And by the way, they even had Smith on the corner route wide open as part of a smash concept if Jalen so chose. But if you run it now, watch Covey from number 2 in the slot running right at the corner, and then Dotson running a delayed in-breaker, first read throw, wide open, okay? All he had to do was pick a side, make either throw, wide open, first read throw, okay? Really well-schemed, well-designed, 4th and 4 call. Should have been an easy completion. Now, the key point again, go back. Right there, or go a little further. Again, the bottom line point, there's no pressure on Jalen Hurts.
Look, Jalen didn't cost the Eagles the game, but it's also not unfair to say that Jalen could have played better. By the way, shout out to Inside the Birds, and I've also got a link in the description if you want to check out the full breakdown. Sure, if Saquon Barkley had made the catch, then Jalen wouldn't have thrown that last-second interception. But that's not the way it played out, and we saw another instance where trying to do too much resulted in nothing at all, as Hurts' interception gave him 18 in the last 19 games, with the last Eagles quarterback to have more INTs in a 19-game span being Michael Vick. Not good, I know. Yet Jalen is recognizing with a new offense, he doesn't have to try to do too much.
Would have liked to, in that situation, that game, I think just looking back on it, manage the time we had, the opportunity we had, maybe didn't have to be as aggressive there, but we're trying to take a shot down the field in that area and, didn't connect, and I own that in those moments because, those are the moments you get excited about, to make something happen. And, I came up short, and I own that.
Maybe I'm wrong, but the fact that Jalen has been asked to play hero ball of sorts in Sirianni's offense probably created some bad habits. So it could take some time for him to make the adjustment and Kellen more scheme. However, it was nice to see Jalen use his legs against Atlanta, and quite honestly, if they're going to have a chance against the Saints, he's going to have to do much of the same. Since Nick Jennings pointed out that Dennis Allen has a history of struggling to contain dual-threat quarterbacks, especially Hurts. Remember, he has 175 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground in 2 games against New Orleans. Plus, just last season, former Minnesota Vikings quarterback Josh Dobbs terrorized the Saints defense with his legs, racking up 44 yards on 8 carries and 1 score while the Vikings knocked off the Saints. Or heck, even undrafted free agent Tyson Bagent gave Allen fits during the Bears game, as he recorded 70 rushing yards on just 8 attempts. So yeah, I'd probably take the over in Jalen's rushing totals as well as taking +3 for the Eagles. Yes, I realize it's been since 2007 that Philly went into the Big Easy and won a football game, so it ain't going to be easy, but I think it's going to be a really close game. By the way, just another reminder, I'll be live streaming with Thomas again for the Saints game along with reactions, play-by-play, and watch party, so feel free to swing by. Look, who knows, maybe I'm too optimistic by default, but let's hear those score predictions. I'm going to go with Eagles 31-30. Until next time, this has been the Philly Special.